pundits in the city. And, of course, you last night were watching that Memorial Cup and those Saint John Seadogs.
It was fascinating. That Saint John Seadogs team is as good as we knew they were, and I actually had to mute the game at one point because those Sportsnet guys were driving me nuts. They have no idea what they're talking about. At one point said, I can't believe the Saint John Seadogs won a game all year because they're so young. They're all young.
And they were calling Yurko Jerko. I read that on the Twitter.
Yeah, it was just, and they had Galiev's name spelled wrong on the ticker. If you're going to cover junior sports, cover it properly. That's what drives me nuts, is when you're going to cover one of these junior tournaments or something as big as the Memorial Cup, cover it properly.
Right.
But, it was great hockey, not to take away from the hockey. Owen Sound came out and took the 2-0 lead, and then Saint John just battled back. And some great goaltending from Desairs, and just a good hard battle from their whole team for Saint John. And the first team since 2004 from the Q to get into the finals, which is kind of shocking to really think that it's been that many years since a Q team has got into the finals. But hopefully, knock on wood, they can represent and bring some respect back to the Q.
And who do they play in the final?
Not decided yet. Obviously, the other teams have to play it out. Pretty much whoever won that game was almost guaranteed a bye into the finals. St. John was guaranteed, and Owen Sound it was based on St. John's next game. So either way, that game had huge implications, and those two teams left it all on the ice. Absolutely fantastic to watch.
The other thing going on in the sports world, on more of a professional basis, and we'll have fun talking about this, because we talked about it before, and it drives me crazy, is the Yannick's kid, Joachim Noah, with the racial, or not racial, but the homosexual slur towards a fan during his game against Miami.
What I don't get about that is he's a fan.
Right.
Like, I can't stand when these athletes go
That's
at these
what I'm
fans.
talking about, yeah.
You're going to set me off with this because I cannot stand it.
Drives me crazy.
You are paid millions and millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're a rookie or not very good at the sport. But you are an athlete, that's your job. If I went into my office and I had someone walking down the hallway and I just tossed off a slur at someone, I'd be fired. These athletes, it's their job. You have to act professional. And the fact that it didn't not only happen once with Kobe, it's now happened with another player, there's a big problem there.
Right.
And there's always been a problem with the attitudes of these NBA players. It's why they had to introduce a dress code and this sort of thing. They've had guns in the locker room. But Stern has got to do something about this league because the image is just getting hurt, especially when the spotlight's on them because the lockout for NFL teams. You have your chance to shine, and they're wasting it with stuff like this.
And Kobe, I'm not defending Kobe at all, believe me. Like, it's absolutely horrific and stupid. His was at the official. Not that means
not that it matters, but
again, towards a fan, like, and people say, oh, well, he's an emotional guy. I don't want to hear any of that. I don't want to hear anything about emotions and getting fired up and the fan said something over the top. I don't want to hear any of that nonsense. All I want to say or hear is that you're a professional athlete, you're making millions of dollars. What do you care? Again, I'm going to talk about this before. What do you care if a fan says something to you? Who cares? Like Joe Sixpack sitting in the 6th row, just spent his week's salary to get to the game. What do you care if he says something to you?
Exactly, and that's the thing. Those fans, they're paying. If they're yelling something, doing something, security will deal with them fine. But they're paying to be there. They're paying to watch you play. And if you're going to go out there and do the things that these players are doing, bigger than a fine. There should be a suspension for stuff like this.
For sure.
Anything with a fan should definitely be a suspension. Abusive official suspension. There is obviously trash talk that goes between players, and that's, in any sport there's trash talk between players. But whenever it involves an official or a fan, that's when they need to bring the hammer down. Especially in such a high-profile game.
And the last time we talked about this was when the Vancouver Canuck player, I can't remember who, got into a pushing fight with a fan.
Oh, yeah.
That's the last time we talked about this, but it's still like...
It always pops up.
Oh, yeah.
It always pops
And
up.
just once, I mean, I know there's a brotherhood there, the whole NHLPA, you got to support each other, but just once I'd like to hear a player interviewed say, if he was questioned about that, just say, you know what, that's retarded. Like, these are...
Well, maybe not use that word, because that word
exactly.
might offend even
Right.
more people.
Yeah, that is stupid or dumb. These are our fans, and he should know better. Just once I'd like to hear a player, instead of a player step up for him, I'd like to hear a player take the abuse and just give it to him. But,
And it'll never happen because they're unionized, right?
Right.
You know, you have a players' union, they're not going to go against each other. But players have got to realize that this is their job.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting a dream job that millions of people want to do, and you're getting paid millions of dollars to do it. Act like a professional.
Right.
Because they are professionals. Whether, you don't want to believe some or some aren't, you have to, do your part. And I don't think a fine is big enough for something like this. You need to be made an example of. Especially in this kind of circumstance. If they let it slide now, in the playoffs, in such a high-profile game with such a high-profile talent, because he is a high-profile talent, and there's big hopes for Noah, you need to bring the hammer down.
Are the Vancouver Canucks going to close out the Sharks tonight?
My heart says yes. You know what? Yes, they are. I predicted it would be Vancouver and Philadelphia in the finals months ago. Obviously, Philadelphia fell short, and Boston went through them, but I think Vancouver's got the team to do it, and I don't think there's any hockey player, whether they're a forward, defenseman, goalie, that will get less credit for making it to the finals than Roberto Luongo. He'll get no credit for it. But if they don't make it, he will get all the blame. And it's just funny how when he came over from Florida, that he was the new hero, and all of a sudden, he loses a couple games and hasn't won anything in the playoffs meaningful. The fans are all on his back. I just hope that if they lose tonight, that they stay with him in Game 6. Because he is a phenomenal talent in net, and they wouldn't be there without him.
The Bruins, are they now in control of that series?
I'd like to say yes. I really liked the move to put Mike Smith in net for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Keep them on their toes, put the guy in who is hot. I just think that Boston has too good of a team. I predicted they'd win at the beginning of the series, and I still think they will. But Tampa Bay, give it to them. This is pretty much the same core that won a Stanley Cup before the lockout. With Lecavalier, St. Louis, and they're there again. With the same brand of hockey, the same talent, albeit with a new goalie and a young guy, Stamkos. But these guys are for real, and hopefully, for the hockey's sake and for hockey in a place like Tampa, they take this to 7.
Well, let's get Greg Wichork on the phone. He, of course, you got some questions for Greg?
I'm sure I can pop some up,
Cool. Okay. So questions for Greg Wichork coming up here. Of course, he is the marathon winner from this past weekend and record breaker. 2 hours and 28 minutes for Greg. So stick around here. We're going to get Greg Wichork on the phone. And come on back on Bill McLean Sports Show.
Well, let's turn that off.
Is that working? Music on right now.